I cannot wait to see where this show goes today. We have the usual suspects back in the podcast studio. Welcome back, Brant. Took a little sabbatical last week.
Sure
Chris
did.
Lehane sat in your chair and absolutely crushed it with trivia.
So good.
And so, Angie's got some trivia for us today. And Dustin
ready.
and I we're going to measure the success of Brant when it comes to trivia.
Yeah, a lot to live up to today.
I'm ready.
Yes.
I've
Okay.
come prepared.
So our topic today in general discussion is going to be on gratitude. So with that, we always tie our trivia to a little bit of segue into our further discussion that's going to be a little later. So listener, hold on, it's going to get good. But we're going to start with with some Thanksgiving trivia because it's Thanksgiving is all about turkeys, pumpkin pie, and football. Do I?
Yep.
Yes. Do I have consensus in this room? So first one. Okay. Which U.S. president made Thanksgiving a national holiday? And if you can give the year, you get double
my
the
word.
points.
Didn't we do presidents a while ago?
We did, but this is when it first became an official holiday in the U.S.
No.
Brant looks confident. He looks
Brant feels
confident.
confident
No.
this
What
morning.
do you got?
No, I'm not. I'm not confident. Actually, I'm going to pass on this one. We get one pass, right? This is my pass.
Oh, me too.
Come on. Angie, I pass.
Nobody.
Okay. President. It seems like it's got to have gone back quite a ways.
Well, I'll give you the year, and then maybe that would help.
Oh.
would that help? In
I would-
1800s. Yeah,
goodness. I would like to say
exactly.
yes, but the answer is no.
1800s.
I feel like Jefferson.
Okay. Dustin, do you have any idea? Any guess?
I have no idea, and I'm afraid that if I guess, I'll just embarrass myself. So I will hold my guessing for the next question.
Brant, did you pass?
Yeah, I did pass, but I'm going to agree with.
You're going to say
Pastor Chris.
Jefferson. It's really close.
Van Buren.
No, it was actually Abraham Lincoln in 1863.
Wow.
1863. So
Which is really quite interesting, given the climate of that day.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay.
Lehane
here's-
would have got that.
He would have.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
He just texted
so,
me.
now this kind of gives itself away. Okay, the first Thanksgiving feast I'll tell you was in 1621. Okay, but how long was it? How long was it?
3 days.
You are correct.
What?
Let's
You
go.
didn't even give us a chance to be
No.
wrong, Angie.
Because it was the first come first serve.
Okay.
So
Guys, I'm going to sit this one out.
Way to
yeah.
be.
Okay.
Nicely done.
Yes, it was 3 days, and it was actually a harvest festival,
Oh, interesting.
which was kind of ties us to why we do it in the fall and have Thanksgiving
why-
to give thanks for what comes
Why
in on the
isn't
harvest.
Thanksgiving still 3 days? I feel like that would be fun.
I feel like
Don't
it is
you
though.
eat leftovers for about 3 days?
That's true.
Or have different family members call you over for different days, and it
Guys,
feels like it's 5
I give
days.
thanks every day.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to have Francie. Francie's going to fact check.
We're going to get a little bit more fun on this, and it's kind of more. It's going to get easy. True and false.
I was already having fun.
Pumpkin pie is the favorite pie on Thanksgiving.
False.
False.
Pecan.
Okay,
Apple.
that is false. Who? Okay, well, who said
Apple.
what? Apple. That is correct.
Guys, I'm killing it.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So there's 50 million pumpkin pies. 50 million pumpkin pies eaten on Thanksgiving. And then it goes with apple being the overwhelming favorite. And then chocolate and pecan come before pumpkin.
Seriously?
Really?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
so,
me some pecan pie.
Yeah.
Chocolate, though.
Pecan.
You would.
Yeah, but there was no pumpkin pie at the first Thanksgiving because they had no butter and wheat flour, so they couldn't make crust. So there's probably like squash and things, but there was no pumpkin pie.
That makes sense.
So yeah, okay, we're gonna get into some football. So we're done with pumpkin pie and we're done with the start of Thanksgiving. Are we ready for
Brand's
some
a
football?
Packer fan, so he
do it.
doesn't really know football very well.
Okay,
I don't know. Most
give
championships.
me the most. This
there's that.
is out there on purpose. So give me the most long time team that has played on Thanksgiving.
Dallas Cowboys.
The Lions or It would be the Lions or the Cowboys, one of the two.
Yeah,
Chris?
I'm going with the Lions.
It is the Lions. Oh. But the Dallas Cowboys
That's good.
are a close second. The Lions have played since 1934, and the Cowboys since 1960.
We're the new America's team.
Yeah, the Lions have been losing that long.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They have been ruining Thanksgiving
Okay.
since 1934.
Yes, but you know who has the most Thanksgiving wins in the NFL?
Well, it would either have to be one of those two since they've been playing the longest.
I'm going to say Green Bay
She's
Packers.
smirking.
Well, yeah, not the Lions. They often play the Bears.
Oh, yeah, right.
I have no idea.
Bears
Guys,
haven't
I'm
won
going
since
to use my
1985.
pass here.
Yeah.
It is actually the Lions because they have
you go.
37 wins. But they have 43 losses. I just have to point that out. I thought that,
Most wins and losses.
yes, yes. So we had to bring up the Lions
we're
and
double
football
winners.
for Thanksgiving because that is what your team, right, Chris? Yeah. So you eat some turkey, have some pumpkin pie.
Apple.
Oh, apple pie. So you're
It's
an
the
apple.
overwhelming favorite.
Yes. So, and Dustin, what do you do on Thanksgiving afternoon after you have your turkey and pie?
Yeah, football. We will every other year we'll travel to Virginia to see Sharice's family. So we'll either be out there or we'll be at home. This year we will be out there, and so once the food is consumed, hopefully can just hang out, watch some football. Yeah, just enjoy the fam.
Yeah. What about you, Brant?
Yeah, same. I think sometimes we play games like play cards, or if it's nice outside, we go outside and hang out with the kids. But other than that, watch football, eat, chill.
I regret to inform the listener if you fall on a certain side of, I guess, that you don't believe in guns. But at our house, Thanksgiving has always brought out the guns, and we do a skeet shooting contest. And so our kids have grown up knowing, because you have to know my father.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so they have a contest every Thanksgiving. So the kids are disappointed if they know that there's not going to be any shooting that day.
That's fun.
I did skeet shooting once.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's a great way to
How
start.
did that go?
Out of 50, I got 18.
Okay.
So not bad.
Yes.
Wasn't using my own gun. That's why.
It's better than I'd do. That's for sure.
Somebody else.
Did
So
you shoot them before they threw them, or did you? Were they in the
no.
air at the
You
time?
break 'em
They
in your
didn't even
hand
throw
and
them in
throw
the
'em up
air.
in
It was
the
at the
air.
back 40. They didn't even throw them in the air most of the time. They just rolled they rolled across the yard. I couldn't seem to get them.
You need to have some lessons from Denny Yoder. Okay, so Thanksgiving is one of the things we do also at the table is we sit around the table and we say, what are you grateful for, right? What do you look back on the year and look at and see with an attitude of, gratefulness and thankfulness. And so this word gratitude, I want to throw it out to you guys. When you are asked this question or you hear the word gratitude, what comes to mind? Like, is it just a normal everyday thing, or what do you hear and what do you think about when you hear that word gratitude?
I think appreciation and not taking things for granted. It's easy to do that, especially in the world we live in. We have so many things and we're blessed in so many different ways. So I think sometimes just in the day to day, it's easy to kind of look past those things and the people that are in our lives and to, I love that every year it's the theme, it's the focus, around this time of year, but to truly every day to try to live out this idea of what it means to be grateful, to be thankful. And so just to not take the people in our lives and the things in our lives for granted that we have.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's a time to reevaluate. When I think of gratitude, it makes me pause long enough to think, like Dustin was saying, gain perspective of what reality really is. And the many things we do, like for me personally, the many things that I have that I take for granted. Dustin gave a good answer. Yeah, well done.
Yes, Brant, do you have anything to add?
Ditto.
Okay, so
Pass.
Here's the thing. We, as the kids grew up, and listener, this is where I want to take this conversation, is that gratitude should not and really can be a choice that we make for our entire year. We kind of sit around the Thanksgiving table and we talk about it at this time of year. But what about making gratitude a choice daily? Because it can actually be a weapon in our toolbox that Scripture is really clear on to change our perspective, to give us joy, to enhance relationship with others, to give us the opportunity to praise Jesus and give him the glory, even in the hardest, most difficult circumstances. And I think we take gratitude and we kind of compartmentalize it to things, like this time of year, and we put it there and we forget to sometimes pull it out throughout our days when it's hard. Because we often default, I know for me, we default to, oh, poor me, this mentality that life's happening to me. Mm-hmm. But when we pull gratitude, and I use this word weapon, it's actually something that creates an opportunity for change and a choice that we can make. And transformation and change is necessary for all of us. And I know for me personally, when life comes at me, I don't want to be pushed down by life. I want to actually fight back and not let my circumstance overwhelm me and not feel like a victim in that circumstance, but say, you know what, I can be an overcomer like Jesus calls us to be. I can be someone who makes a choice to have gratitude in my life. So that's the way I want to kind of take this conversation, if you guys can go with me there. And so maybe I want to start kind of going back and throwing this out. So when you guys were younger, was there anything that you can remember that maybe you overlooked and you are more grateful for today as you have matured, maybe in your faith, but also in your relationships with others? Is there anything that you can say that today I'm more grateful for this than I was when I was younger?
Definitely. I'm sitting in a seat now as a grandparent, so it makes me stop and think about how grateful I am for my parents and my grandparents. They set a good model for me, and I'm thankful for it. I have a lot of gratitude, and I think I'm realizing just how hard parenting was. I didn't look like it was hard. They made it look easy, but So when I look at family, I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Mine's similar. I think back to, having my mom here on earth and before she passed. And I think there were times I just took that time for granted, or maybe didn't necessarily embrace all of her quirks. And now those are the things that I miss. And so I'm super grateful looking back that I had a mom who definitely invested a lot of time and energy into us and put a lot into us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say time. I'm grateful for time because growing up, it was always you were looking forward to the next thing. You always wanted to be, when you were in elementary school, you couldn't wait for middle school, high school, college, and you're always kind of pushing ahead. Now, kind of a dad with young kids, it's to take as much time as we can with them in each stage that they have, because it just goes so fast. And you're told that, when you become a parent, enjoy it because it's going to go super fast. And I know that, but there's nothing I can do about the time other than just take advantage of the time that we have with them. So that's something that I've learned to appreciate more.
There's a verse in Philippians that Paul uses, Philippians 4:6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. So I heard multiple things here when you guys said when you were younger, like harder times, right? Difficult times where you didn't realize that parenting was going to be so hard, but you realized what your parents gave to you. The time, the opportunity to invest in the next generation. I think sometimes when we think of that verse, we kind of think of it as a play to get positive results, kind of a formula we put into play. But really, it is an attitude of gratitude is what that is. It's putting that on based upon your circumstance, based upon your situation. And so when I look back when I was younger, and I actually don't have to go too far back. I could go back about 10, 15 years. And I thought, I was praying for this, don't be anxious about anything. It was actually 17 years ago that the twins were born in August. And I was just really anxious in parenting, very much so that it took a lot out of me. And I kept praying to the Lord, okay, give me the right answers. Give me the details of what I need to do to get through this day. And I say this is that I am very grateful for that need that he created in my life. I know that sounds kind of the opposite, but what it did is it created a need for me to learn what I did not know. And so I think we often sit around this table and we talk about like being learners. And so when you are presented with two children and they're very opposite at the same age, and then you have a toddler on top of that, it was just like I needed to find something. How do I live this way? How do I actually do it? And so it kind of created in me a need. And with that, I'm very grateful for that. So that kind of leads into my next question, which is, how has practicing gratitude changed perspective in hard situations? So sometimes when these kids were little, when they were, able to understand, Dan and I would sit, we'd all go to bed at the same time. We'd all eat at the same time. We just had this schedule. But every night we asked this question, what are you grateful for today? And we did that on purpose so that they could see that, well, I'm glad that I got to ride in the tractor, as Cole would say, or I'm glad I got to, play with the dog today, as Katie would say, or whatever it would be with grandma, as Grace might say, or just little things. So how can we be, how have you guys seen that gratitude actually changes the hard into good?
I think it depends on the situation, right? So if your attitude is one of just selfishness and it's just uncomfortable to be grateful and it's more inward than outward, then practicing gratitude or being inspired to practice or take steps of gratitude can change your perspective on challenging situations a lot quicker than maybe suffering can. And I think, here at church, we've experienced a lot of things in the last few months where we have families who are suffering, and practicing gratitude for the good things can be hard in your suffering and take longer. So I know that doesn't necessarily answer the question, how has practicing changed my perspective? But I think one thing that I've been processing and observing is that this attitude of gratitude, as you said, Angie, is sometimes easier in some situations than it is in others, and the time frame that it takes to be grateful and how that looks may be different for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, that's really good. When you were reading the verse earlier, in Philippians 4:6, it just reminded me of what it says. It goes on to say in 4:7, it says, "Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand." So I think what I've learned in those seasons that, as Brant was talking about, those really hard seasons, and when maybe being thankful or being grateful isn't the first thing on our mind in those situations, I've learned that when you are grateful, in those moments, there is a peace that really does surpass all understanding. And so I think that's something that I've learned. Not that the peace answers all the questions, not that the peace necessarily takes the pain away, but that there is a peace that you can't describe it or necessarily define it other than it's from God, and it is only something that he can bring and offer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to change your question. How about that?
Is that allowed?
I don't know. We're going to find out. So the question is, how has practicing gratitude changed your perspective on challenging situations? I'd like to answer, how have challenging situations changed your perspective on gratitude? And I think that's probably more suited. Like, I think about mission trips. You've been on mission trips. When you get to see other cultures and the lack of things that they have or the challenges that they live with on a normal basis, it gives me a perspective that helps me change my attitude towards gratitude. And I try to remember those experiences. I try to see some of the challenging situations that we deal with and on a regular basis, and try to remind myself of the many things that God has given. So it's a perspective change for me.
Mm-hmm. I think to throw that perspective change into is I can honestly say when I was a 20-year-old, my perspective was a lot different on what I was grateful for than what I am today. Because as my maturity in Christ, as I began to see God's faithfulness in my life or in situations that are hard, I think that perspective also changes. It's not just when we see the hard times in people's lives. I think it's actually the evidence of God's grace in our lives too.
I remember being a child at Christmas, and I know we're not talking about Christmas, but I wanted the gifts. I was
Right.
excited for the gifts. My parents got me this. I got this. This makes me happy. But as we've gotten older, it is a perspective change. Now it's like, I just can't wait to give this. I'm just glad they're all here. I'm glad they came to our house today. I'm glad I get to spend time with them.
And I think
I don't care about the tie.
Yeah.
They didn't give me a tie, but I don't care about the socks. They're here. It's perspective change.
It is. And this is why I think we can take it into our daily life. Because when we have this perspective, when we go through those hard times, whether it's, with the kids at work, in a relationship with somebody, our perspective changes. And it changes in our relationship with God and others. So here's my question. So how has relationship with God and others been affected when you choose an attitude of gratitude? Have you ever been in a situation where you chose the attitude of gratitude, or being optimistic, I would say, or looking to God and seeing the positive, and being grateful? How has that changed any relationships out there?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a hard time in a relationship, whether it is, in your relationship with God or with people, specifically with people, there are times where I kind of take a step back and just think, you know what, this is frustrating me, or this is maybe annoying me, but I can't imagine my life without these people in it, whether it's, people in our small group, it's family, it's friends, whatever, I am so grateful for the people that are in my life and my family's life that are literally doing life with us and with our kids. It's amazing. And so there's going to be disagreements. You're not always going to see everything eye to eye. There's going to be frustrating seasons and moments, but just overall knowing that we have got people that are going to go to bat for us, people in our corner, and that is something that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite of being sinister. You talked about looking at things in a positive light, being optimistic. Francie and I were laying in bed last night, and we were talking about our oldest son, who's kind of struggling with just some behavioral issues, and just really testing his will a lot with us, specifically as his parents. And we started off the conversation just, what do we do? How do we fix this? How do we change this? What do we need to be doing better as parents? And then Francie, who's typically the more optimistic one in our relationship, kind of changed the perspective there and talked about how lucky we are to have him as our child, and what a gift it is to steward that responsibility and point him to Jesus. And so looking at things through the right lens and with the right heart posture does affect your relationship with God and others. It changes how you interact with them. It changes how you deal with adversity. If you're grateful for the moment, then typically your response to adversity is going to be more effective than not.
So if I read this verse out of Colossians 3:15, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Okay, so we're going to jump into real time now, and we're going to throw a question that's not on the notes.
Oh, boy.
Because that verse right there speaks to a lot of people as they sit around the Thanksgiving table. Maybe, listener, you're going to sit with some family members who don't necessarily agree with you or have been part of what we see in our divisive society, maybe kind of, I guess, taking sides, and you feel that the table, you may be taking sides as you sit around the table versus being one body. So maybe you're nervous about sitting down with your family this Thanksgiving, maybe having conversations. Let's talk about that. How do we handle that as believers, as disciples of Christ, when Paul challenges that let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts? And since as members of one body, you were called to peace. Let's be thankful. That's a pretty, I guess, real way to say it.
Yeah, it reminds us that we have to rise above and realize that we can be patient and we can be loving. I like these verses that you have here, and even going back to Abraham Lincoln, like you started in the trivia question. To generate thankfulness, Paul often writes about being thankful, and he's writing from prison. That means you can. We have the opportunity to choose that. It's a choice that we have to make it. It's a choice we have to rise above. Even going into a situation like you're saying at a Thanksgiving table, I have a choice to make. Will I let that irritate me? Will I let that ruin my day? Will I let that just get under my skin? Or will I love the person as Christ loved the person? Will I love the situation with the hope that one day this person comes to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ? It's the perspective that we come into it with, knowing that we can have peace in the tough situations. Very much the nature of where these verses are written. They're not always written in the good times.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes that choice is very difficult to make, though. When you're in the moment and we all get kind of heated in conversation, and sometimes you want to stand your ground and you want to say, this is what I think and this is what I believe and this is actually what I choose. But in that, are you choosing peace? Are you choosing gratefulness that you have a family to sit around at a table? Do you have the food to sustain you today? And so, listener, I just throw that out there because I know many families face turmoil over the holidays. And it can even face turmoil in loss, because when you sit at a table when there is an empty seat, there's a lot of pain involved in that and a lot of heartbreak. And in that, do you see the opportunity to sit around the table and see God's goodness and for what he's done, even in the pain? And so I share that too. So I'd like to end with this final question that I want to ask these guys, and maybe we can kind of talk about it. But maybe something that we've learned, we've taken away, maybe something that we've established, how we cultivate this gratitude in our everyday routines. What is a way that you guys maybe have found to do, or maybe you've seen or you've read, or something that you've chosen to do for a season? Any thoughts on that?
Dustin wants to begin.
Oh, thank you. Nothing necessarily specific, other than just I think Chris had mentioned it earlier, and it was a great reminder. Just the idea of pausing and really, especially in the middle of everything that we're kind of in the season of life we're in with young kids and busy schedules, and it's not just us. There's a lot of families that are in that situation. So to just find that time to pause and to reflect on what we have. And so we try to at night when we spend some time with our kids before they go to bed, and we're praying. They're pretty simplistic prayers with them, but really focusing on thanking God at this stage, for what he has done in our lives and what he has given us and what he has blessed us with. Because it is easy to focus on, the things that maybe we don't have, or looking at what other people maybe do have, and it to almost let our contentment turn into comparison. And so that's why I think I just want to have this heart of gratitude and be reminded constantly. And it's easy to tell when you don't, because then you do start looking at everybody else and you start complaining more, and you start thinking, man, I just wish if we only had this so that we could do this, or if we could only get our kids this. But to be like, you know what? Just that time that we do have in taking advantage of that has been a big thing for us, and that we're really just trying to focus on that. So those moments of pause throughout the day that can just be like, you know what, I am just so thankful for what we do have is important for us at the stage we're in.
It's good. I'll just be transparent. I don't do this very well. This has been a challenging season where I've had to pause long enough at times to gain perspective. But you ask about how do you fit this into your routine or cultivate this into a routine. One of the things I'm trying to do, and I'd like to say I have not mastered this. I live and die by a to-do list. And so my to-do list is full of the next task to do. And sometimes those tasks aren't fun. They're challenging, they're frustrating, but I need to do them. I have started to write in my to-do list things like pause, pray, smile. laugh, because it's easy to go next thing, pause. You know what? That's right. Gain perspective. And I think trying to write it into a routine has at least helped. Now, I wish I was better at it, but it's something I've done more lately.
I think a quote that goes along with what you guys are talking about, John Mark Comer. Many of you might know the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. He writes that love takes time and hurry doesn't have it. Hurry kills joy, it kills gratitude, appreciation. People in a rush don't have time to enter the goodness of the moment. It kills wisdom. Wisdom is born in the quiet and in the slow. And I think gratitude and appreciation are born in those as well.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah. I think through this, the value of the written word, and I say this, when I say written word, I'm not just talking about God's word, which we know is the truth, but the value of writing something down and looking back has amazing perspective. And so I have journals, and I actually buy the same kind of journal every year. So it looks the same. So I don't know actually what year I'm pulling out. And I know that when I lose perspective, I don't write, because I don't write down my prayer to the Lord that I'm thankful for, what I'm thankful for. I don't write down what I'm processing through. And in that, I become a little more self-focused. And I just say this is that when I look back and I see the things that I've written down over the years, and I'm like, man, Lord, that is so amazing that you did this. I am so grateful for this. And I even see the gratitude inside the words that brought the perspective. And so I just say, I don't know, it's just a great habit to have. They say it's actually very, very therapeutic to write. If you write for like maybe 10 minutes of your day, it will actually get through you about a month of just better understanding, better perspective. I know that that's just an out there kind of idea, but writing down, like you said, even Chris, like writing in your to-do list, writing something that will keep you kind of in perspective, but also in view of what God's doing, where you're actually at in His world. Because
that's a good way to say it.
Yeah. We got to forget that it is His world and not ours.
Not inviting Him into ours. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I say that to you, listener, as you go into this holiday. Anybody else have anything to add?
I was just going to say, it's a great way to be reminded of God's faithfulness, too. I mean, you look back of the things, that maybe in the time you're not necessarily thankful for, but it's what's kind of current, and you want to take those moments to pause, and so you kind of write down what's going on, and then you're fast forward 8 months or whatever, a year, and you look back and you're like, oh my word, like I am so actually thankful that those things took place because of where it has me now. And so yeah, it's just a great way to help reflect on God's faithfulness.
Mm-hmm. Because I've always said, and I don't know if you guys have heard me say this lately, but the word testimony is pretty powerful. God calls us to testify to Him, but the word testimony has four letters at the beginning. What is it? Test, right? And to remember what you went through, the test brings about the testimony.
That's good.
So,
Angie, where are we heading next?
Well, we're going to kind of enjoy some exciting times during the holidays. I don't know if you guys as listeners have a lot of things going here at Walk EMC. We have some things planned on the calendar. You can always come out to Northwood High School on December 8th and join us at our annual Holly Jolly Hoopla.
It is a hoot.
Yeah. But we're going to kick back into gear right after the new year. And we're going to throw out a kind of a new start, new idea. And it's actually a book that I've worked through, and I'm going to challenge these guys on, which I think will be
wonderful.
Yes, awesome.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, and my husband's reading it with me. But I think it goes with a new year and this conversation on gratitude really well, which is called Soul Care. And it's really about taking care of your soul and what that looks like in your relationship with God, but also others. So I'm kind of excited about that. We're going to take that little series after the new year.
Excellent. Well, listener, we're glad that you joined us. I actually just totally pushed the wrong button, but this is good music too. It's a whole nother show, but I'm grateful for this show. What a great way to end. Isn't that nice music, guys?
Welcome
best thing
to
that's
our
ever
life
happened.
in the podcast studio.
Can we start over?
Can we start over? Yeah, no. Here's the deal. You're heading into the holiday season, and it is times of stress, but it's also times of good reminders for the reason for the season as we head into Christmas and even into Thanksgiving. So we just ask that you take time, spend some time with the Lord, spend time with others, remind yourself of the perspective that God has put in your life, and that is that we are His children and we have hope, right? So until the new year when we get new music, we wish you all the best. God's peace to you.